Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Sherman Read. Today I'll be starting off a brand new reading vlog. Before I get started, if you are new to this channel, please don't hesitate to subscribe down below as well as hit the notification bell. But it is the weekend now. It's actually Friday. But I'm going to start this reading vlog now and run it until end of Sunday, maybe even Monday. We'll see how that goes, because this weekend is actually the Escape in 24-hour readathon, and on Sunday my friend and I are actually going to do a whole day of reading together at my place. So I'll be vlogging that as well, but I wanted to let you guys know kind of like what I'm reading this weekend, etc., and also give you guys a little bit of a life update as well. So let's start off with a life update. So last time I did a reading vlog, I think I mentioned that I was laid off. It is now end of June, and I'm happy to say that I received 2 offers in this time period, and I'm honestly debating between the 2 of them, because one of them I got the offer like 2 weeks ago, and at that time I accepted it because I didn't have any other offer to, you know, juggle between. But since then I haven't heard anything from them in terms of like next steps or anything like that, and the offer is supposed to be also contingent with a background check and a drug test, which is pretty normal. So I was like, okay, sounds good, like just let me know what next steps are. Nothing. Like, it's been crickets. And finally, and I'm supposed to start on Monday, so I was like, that's weird. Like, usually, I don't know, from my experiences, you know, background checks are run before you actually start your first day, because they take some time to process and everything, especially if it's contingent. Like, why start and then start your background check and then you fail for whatever reason and then you leave the job? Like, it doesn't make sense for you to work for a couple days for that to happen. So generally speaking, you're advised to have the background check completed before you start. So that's what I was expecting, and then I haven't heard anything from them. I followed up with them on Tuesday. I didn't get a response until yesterday afternoon or something like that, saying that I don't have to worry about any of the paperwork and just come in on Monday to do the drug test. And I was like, but what about the background check? I don't know, it's just very messy. Not only that, but they sent me like 3 versions of the offer letter. One of them was revised because of negotiations being made, which makes sense, but the other 2, it's like they sent me a draft version initially, and then they sent me an official one after that with all the benefits. And I was like, it just seems like, without going into too much detail, they just very messy internally. Like, the HR seems very disorganized. I don't think they have an HR. From my conversation with them on the phone a couple of weeks ago, it seems like there's an accountant who does all of like the HR, finance, accounting work, and it's all one person. So I don't know how I feel about that. It just seems like a very messy situation. And then on Wednesday, which was 2 days ago, I got a call for another offer that I was actually waiting for a while, but like, they were supposed to get back to me like a week ago and they didn't. They got me an offer, and then I negotiated. So I'm debating now between the 2 because I'm not sure what to expect. This second offer is a little lower on the salary range, but the benefits are a lot more robust. The other one is not. Very bare bones, no 401k, accrued vacation for only 12 days of vacation. Health insurance is so expensive. It's like $200 a month, and that's after their premium and everything, which I think is insanely expensive, because when I used to pay for my own insurance, I paid like $300. So like, I'm only saving $100. Like, what? Okay, my camera just died. But what I was saying is that the insurance, which is so expensive, is considering I had the exact same plan with 2 jobs ago, and I only paid like $60 out of pocket every month. So for me, I was like, that's a crazy jump. So even though I felt like the salary is higher without the 401k, with such high health insurance, oh, and I also have to go on site. They were not going to like let me hybrid or anything, even though they do have remote workers, which I was like, if you have remote, then I don't know why. But they said it's because people took advantage, and I was like, okay, but that's them, it's not me. Like, it shouldn't be a blanket policy. But anyways, so point is though, with all of that, I felt like the salary is higher, yes, but with all the other stuff, it's actually not that much higher. It's probably still like a good 5k higher, because yes, my second offer has a lower salary, but they do give me 401k, so that's an additional like $5,000 right there, like free money. Not to mention their insurance is fully covered, so you know, all that stuff, and it's also like literally just down the street from me. So I feel like, yes, it's lower, but difference about like 5k, maybe like 7.5k or something like that. I'm like, I feel like this one is just generally like more well-being with myself. The titles are about the same though, so I think I'm like leaning towards the second offer, and then that's annoying because I have to know renege the first offer, which kind of sucks. But like with such a mess, like before I even start and they're so messy, like that's just wild to me. But anyways, that's my life update. So I am very happy to say I have 2 offers, and I actually managed to get my first offer the anniversary of my 1 month of being laid off. So I was really happy about that. But yeah, anyways, let's just get on with the books I plan to read for this weekend. So the book that I just started this morning is The Witch and the Tsar by Elisa Saladnikova Gilmore. This is basically a origin story of Baba Yaga, which I'm so fascinated by. I love Russian folklore and mythology, so I'm really excited for this book. And I just started this morning. Like I literally just read 2 pages, so not much to say in terms of my progress so far, but I'm really excited to dive into that book. And then in terms of my next books, I am planning to read Carrie Soto is Dead by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This will be on audio. I just got the audio for this, so I will be trying to tackle this on audio during this weekend after I finish my current read, which is After Love. I'll put an image right over here. So once I finish that, I will pick up this one immediately, and I'm hoping to tackle both audiobooks this weekend while I do some errands, cooking, things like that. And then after that, I also plan to read Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller. This book has been around forever, and I just heard amazing things about this book in general. It's also a short book, which I feel like is perfect for the readathon. So I'm going to try to tackle this one. And the last and final book that I'm going to pick up, and this is one that I want to pick it up. I'm also a little hesitant because there's just so much high expectations going into it, and I'm like, will it live up to it? I don't know. And that is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This is the first book in, I want to say, like a 5-book series. I have the original first edition, and I'm really excited for it. My friend who I'll be doing a readathon with read it recently, and she's like, favorite book of the year. So now I'm like, okay, like let's see how good this is. So we'll see how this goes. I think I'm gonna try to tackle Fourth Wing last though, just because I kind of want to read the other books first. And if you don't know, these are all books that I had picked out initially for my June TBR as well as my spring TBR. So I'm just trying to catch up on some of my TBRs right now, because honestly June has not been the greatest. I technically still have another book to tackle, but that is a chunker, and I'm like, I don't think I want to read that for a readathon. So we'll see how this goes. I really hope to at least finish The Witch and the Tsar like today or tomorrow. That way I can tackle the other books on Sunday when I do my reading with my friend. In addition to that, I am hoping to finish After Love today or tomorrow. That way Carrie Soto is Back. It can be my primary audiobook for Sunday. So that's my plan. We'll see how this goes, guys. I'm pretty excited. I haven't felt like I'm in a reading mood recently, so I feel like this would be a good way for me to get back into it. All right, it is now Friday afternoon. It's around 3:30, and I have been reading quite a bit actually. Well, not so much in terms of my physical book, but I am on page 37 now. I did read a little bit of this while I was eating my lunch, which I decided to go get Howling Rays, which apparently is like the best fried chicken place in LA. Honestly, it was just okay. Like, I don't think it was amazing. I don't think it was bad. I think it was just like, you know, average. Nothing super special about it. Like, I feel like the one thing I feel that LA doesn't have is actual fried chicken. Like, crunchy fried chicken, you know, not hot chicken, which obviously is still fried, but like it's a very different like texture. And so LA has a lot of hot chicken places that they categorize as fried chicken because it technically is, but they don't really have any like actual fried chicken, like Church's Chicken or KFC, like those type of fried chicken. So I'm still on the hunt for actually good chicken like that, and this was not really it. But it was actually fucking spicy. I got the hot, which was like middle of the tier too, and it was spicy, and I feel like I personally think I can do spicy pretty well, but that one I ate the whole thing obviously because like it wasn't like so spicy that I couldn't deal with it, but it was still spicy enough for me to be like, oh shit, this is actually fucking spicy. And it burned, like as you know, you keep eating, it burned more and more. So I was just like, holy. And about like 3/4 of the way in, I actually put the sandwich down and then be like, let me get some water. So I thought it was pretty spicy, but it's more like a dry spicy. you know, not like the mala spicy, which is what I'm more used to. And then I also got this cookie place because it was like literally right across from it, and it was okay. But yeah, so I ate that. And so I was reading this book while I was eating this fiery chicken. And I've also been listening to my audiobook, which is After Love. I don't remember when I started it, but I do want to say that I'm now only an hour left into it. I've been listening to it while I've been playing some games on my phone and just scrolling through stuff. So I've made a big chunk on there, and I should be able to finish that book very soon though. I feel like once I play like one more round of game, I will be able to finish that book. But in the meantime though, because my phone is running out of battery and it's charging upstairs, I am going to be diving into this one as I just chill for the rest of the afternoon. I might munch on some more of the cookies because I only ate like one bite of it because I was like low-key dying after the chicken sandwich. And I'm just hoping that I get to read a lot this weekend. That is the goal. It is time for an update. I don't know if you hear, my boyfriend just decided to like bounce out. Holy shit. He's home right now. He's playing this new game for this competition tomorrow, and he's practicing right now with some of his teammates, and he is streaming this, so he's very like animated. Well, to be honest, he's animated either way, even if he's not streaming. Like if I'm just down here chilling and he's playing games, he's very loud. But I do have some updates because I have read quite a bit. I did manage to just finish listening to After Love, which I will give like 3 stars. I feel like the beginning was solid, but then towards the middle and the end, maybe I just kind of lost focus and lost interest. But I definitely felt definitely disengaged from the story. Like I felt like, generally speaking, when I read a book, I get more invested in the story. But for some reason with this one, that was not the case. I was really invested with, you know, the story of her and Poppy, as well as her in the afterlife and all that stuff. Like that was super fascinating. But like at some point I just lost interest, and yeah, like I just feel like it was definitely not, like the end was not as good as the beginning. So that's all I can say for that one. And now I'm gonna pick up Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one I'm really excited for because obviously I love her books, so I cannot wait to pick this up soon. But I have it right over here if you can see that. So I'm really excited for this one. It's 10 hours, but I'm listening on 2 times the speed, so I feel there's a good chance I'll be able to finish it sometime this weekend for sure, especially when I'm like doing things and whatnot. And then in the meantime, I did pick up more of The Witch and the Tsar. I'm on page 113, so I've made some progress to it. Honestly, I'm really enjoying the story. Like it's so fascinating. I love this, like the storytelling is just exquisite. It's not like super flowery, which I don't really like. Sometimes I like it if it's done well, but in this case that is not the case. It's very like, it's like flowery and descriptive, but not over the top. I love the writing is just beautiful. The characters are so interesting. Like I mentioned already, it is like a origin story kind of with Baba Yaga, and it kind of goes into her after living like centuries and centuries. So she's already like not like a young version of Baba Yaga, but somewhere in the middle, I want to say. And it's not like the legends and stories we've heard about Baba Yaga and how she's like this old and kind of a witch and just wizened and all that stuff. Like no, she's very much a young, beautiful woman, and because of her centuries of living with humans and because of betrayals from humans, she decided to live by herself in the woods with animals as her companion, and she's just hunting around, doing her thing, living life. And then one day she receives a visit from the Tsarina, who, if you don't know, Tsarina is the queen of the Tsar, who is like the king of Russia essentially. Like that's kind of like the monarchy style way they call it, at least to my knowledge. And so apparently there was a history between the Tsarina as a child and Baba Yaga, or really just Yaga, because I think Baba means like old, something like that, or like it implies old, because every time they call her Baba Yaga, she's like Yaga. Like, I'm not Baba Yaga. So anyways, turns out there is a history between the two of them, and Yaga is the reason why Anastasia, who's the Tsarina, is now the Tsarina. Like, she used to be this disgraced aristocrat's daughter, but because of Yaga's like intermingling, like muddling and stuff like that, she managed to get her in front of the Tsar, and now she is the queen of Russia. And turns out that she's come back and she's like at death's door, and Yaga, because of this past affiliation with her, has a soft spot for her. And so she's like, what happened? Let me heal you, like something's going on. And she gets invited back to the palace to make sure, you know, like just to keep her close and everything in case something happens. And at first she's like, I don't know if I really want to do this, but because she is worried and she does have concern for this girl, she decides to make her way to Moscow. And of course, as politics ensues, turns out there is some sort of issues with I forget his name, but it starts with M. He's like the god of winter, like Moshkov or something. He's like the god that's mentioned in like Bear and the Nightingales and things like that. And so during the summertime, which is what it is right now, he's supposed to be dead until he, you know, resurrects for winter and then dies in the spring. But for some reason it's like summertime, and there's situations where it seems like the ice has returned. There's like icicles, there's snow, and so she's like, something is off, I don't know what it is. Like, there is some sort of hint that something is just not right. And also when she gets to the palace, she finds out that there is another kind of like immortal person there too, who is meddling with the politics in the court. And due to their history, she's like, well, I can't do anything about it, but you know, like, I'm really just here for the Tsarina, making sure she's okay. But yeah, it's just like so fascinating, and I'm so impressed with the characters. Like, I'm not going to go more into it because obviously spoilers and everything, but like, I'm just so fascinated with the characters. I love the story. I can't wait to see what happens. Like, I literally just sat here and was just like, I need to just finish and read and see what happens next. So that in mind, I'm planning to continue reading this, probably while I heat up some food right now for dinner, because it's like 7:30 already, and I do want to eat something because I feel if I don't eat anything, I'm gonna be hungry later. So I might heat up some chicken noodle soup that I made yesterday, and then finish off some of the fries that I had left over from Howling Rays. But this book is so good, and I'm so happy because I feel like I haven't read any good like fantasy books in a while, and this is definitely like solid. Like, this is exactly what I was looking for in terms of like Russian folklore, the type of writing. Like, it reminds me of, you know, like Naomi Novak's Spinning Silver type of book. It reminds me of Catherine Arden's Bear and the Nightingale. So if you like those books, I feel like you will really like this storytelling and the writing style. All right, so I have been reading, as I always am, and I'm now on page 209. So I made some progress with this book. I'm loving it so much. It's like so fascinating. Like I said already, the writing is just so pretty, and I love all the characters. I do love how there's animal familiars too, and I just realized what Little Hen was. I don't know why it took me this long to figure it out, but now that they mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah, like Baba Yaga lives in a house with chicken legs. Like, of course that's what Little Hen is. And so I don't know, it just took me like forever because I was dumb. But to be fair though, she also, like, Little Hen didn't show up very much, and then whenever she was mentioned, it was just kind of mentioned like, oh, Little Hen, you know, likes this person or something like that. And I'm like, okay, cool, like, who's Little Hen? You know, like, I didn't really like think too much about it sometimes. But I also love the animal familiars, like Knock, who is the owl, and then there's the wolf. Like, I do wish they play a bigger role, because I feel like they're only there really when she needs them to be there. Otherwise they kind of just do their own thing, and I feel like that's also the relationship between them and Yaga, because they're not enslaved to her, so they only come, like, you know, interact with her when she needs it, and when they want to. And so because of that, there is kind of a distance sometimes. Like, they're not really there, they're doing their own thing, and it's only when, you know, situation arises and she really needs them, or if they feel like coming over and stuff, they will like come over and communicate and hang out with her. So I do wish they play a prominent role, but I do think but it is also because of the relationship between her and the animals. It's just such a fascinating book. I'm obsessed. Like, I'm really enjoying the story. I'm really enjoying just reading about the characters. There's one character in particular that I'm like, is there going to be some sort of love interest? Because it kind of feels like there is, but also like, I don't know, because she doesn't really have an interest in men for the most part, mainly because she's lived for so long that she's just like, I'm doing my own thing, and men are just a distraction. They don't really do anything for her. Like, there's no pros really for having a man in her life, because she's totally self-sufficient. She has her animals, she has magic, like she's pretty powerful. Like, there's no bonus, you know? So she doesn't really have like an urge to be like, oh my god, like this guy is so whatever. But at the same time, there's been a couple incidents where she's like, yeah, he's like very good looking, and I'm like, so I wonder how this will pan out, because even though I think this guy's a good guy, he definitely has his faults. So it's basically just figuring out if these faults are like, if they outweigh his pros. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm going to continue reading. It's around 9 o'clock now, and honestly I'm getting a little tired, but I'm happy that I'm halfway through and I just started this morning. So hi everyone, I have a lot of updates for you guys actually, because it is now 1:30 and I have been reading pretty much like all morning and I am obsessed. So I have two big updates for you guys. I am still reading this book over here, but I am now on page 349. So honestly, I am almost done. Like, I am flying through this book. I haven't felt like this invested in a story in such a long time with like a physical book. Like, audiobooks, yes, especially when it's like a thriller or a romance, when it's just like easy to read, but like a fantasy that I've been reading physically, that has not happened, I feel like, in forever. And honestly, right now I can say this is a solid 5-star. It is just so beautiful. The writing is just so lush and rich. I love the characters. There is a romance in here, which I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but I didn't really care much for the romance beginning, but I feel like the more that I'm reading, it's definitely more of a slow burn, and now I'm like so invested with the story, like how they kind of like connect and how they actually get together. Like, I'm just here for it, and I love the setting of the story. I love the mentions about the gods and the old gods and all the magical elements to it, like the land of the dead, Lord of the Dead, like the god of thunder, things like that. And I'm so like invested in all the characters. There is a lot of characters, so it is a little bit confusing sometimes, but I'm really enjoying all of it. The one thing I forgot to mention yesterday was that throughout the book, there's been like random sprinkles of these chapters that are considered like interludes. And at first, I didn't really understand what was going on, because it didn't seem like it fit with the rest of the story, because all the story follows Yaga and her life, especially during this tumultuous time in Russia with the Tsar and the Tsarista or the Tsarina, and then the aftermath of when the Tsar, who's Ivan, and he later becomes like Ivan the Terrible, and like what events led up to it and what events happen after he becomes Ivan the Terrible, and like her role in all of this and trying to save Russia from his actions and save Russian people from his actions as well. And so there's been these random like chapters, they're interludes, where I was like, I don't really know what the fuck is going on here, because it just seemed like they were talking about lots of different things. And then it wasn't until like halfway through the book that I was like, oh, I'm starting to understand what these chapters are, and it finally started to make sense in terms of like how it connected with the story. So I had that like epiphany like last night right before I went to bed, because I read the chapter and I was like, now I see where it all connects. And since then, I've just been invested with the story and just Yaga's like life right now. I don't know, I'm just in love with the story. It's such a rich, detailed book, and I'm like obsessed. So I am hoping to finish this book for sure today. I'm also doing sprints on the Discord channel for the readathon, so I'll probably join into the next one as soon as I finish this update. But in terms of my second update, I did manage to start listening to Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm now on 19% of the way through, and all I can say is I am obsessed. Like, immediately I'm invested in the story. I want to know what's happening, and unlike her other books, I feel like this one is where she writes a character that is immediately unlikable. Like, she's not meant to be a likable character. She's meant to be a character that you don't like. So I feel like it kind of helps with the character development and the storyline, because I went into this expecting to completely not like the character because of the plot, and because she's making this character unlikable, it's really easy for me to like continue on and not liking her. And so the story basically follows a woman, her name is Carrie Soto, where at first the book takes place like in the present day, and she's about to see this woman reach the same number of grand slams as she did and potentially break her record. And she's like, you know what, I can't let this stand. Let's go back into training, let's get out of retirement, and I want to win a grand slam to, you know, be the best in the world. And so once that's been agreed upon, it goes into flashbacks. Now we're following Carrie Soto as she is young, a child, where she is raised by a father who was a really great tennis player himself. And so he basically raised her with the whole like tennis in her blood, etc. And so she always grew up playing tennis a lot, and she was always told that she would be number one. And in her defense, she was always really good. Like, she was beating all the kids in her age. By the time she was like 7 or 8 years old, she was beating like 11, 12-year-olds like completely. And then as the story progresses, she's getting into her teenage years, and she's becoming the person who's just very arrogant and no empathy, no sympathy whatsoever to her fellow opponents. And she, whenever she does any like interviews and stuff, she's just like known for her coldness, and that all her other players, all the reporters, the journalists are always like, it's the Cold War with her. And so she's not meant to be a likable character. And I feel like the reason why I didn't really want to like her when I read the plot was I was like, dude, like, you already passed your prime probably. I mean, that's why you're retired. And why do you feel a need to like keep your records will be broken at some point. Like, that's what records are there to be. Like, they're meant to be broken. So the fact that she was like, I don't know, I just imagined to be like a selfish person to get back out of retirement just so she can like reclaim her like record. I was like, I don't know, your time has passed. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of this like mentality. And because, like I said, she's just not a likable character, I feel justified in thinking that, because I'm just like, bro, like, you're such a fucking bitch. Like, to be honest, she is such a bitch. Like, she literally told this woman who like her ankle, she was like, I'm about to break your ankle. I want to like work your ankle so hard that it'll snap in two. And I'm just like, hello, like, what happened to like sportsmanship? Like, anyways, not a fan of her. That being said though, I'm super invested in the story. Like, I want to know what she gets there. It's like one of those like situations where there's like an accident happening and you can't help but look at it, even though it's like not great, and like obviously the whole situation is terrible. It's kind of like the story where like she's just not a great person, but you can't help but be like interested and invested with what she's doing. So anyways, I am reading this book. It is really fucking good. Everyone, so just doing a quick update. It is now 11:30 at night and I can't sleep right now because I end up going to grab dinner with my family very last minute, and then after that we had a little Botox party, and then I got some for my jaw area because I have TMJ. And so because of Botox, if you don't know, you can't lie down for 4 hours after, so I can't sleep for another hour. So I have been listening to Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have been listening to it while I've been playing some TFT, which is this game, and now I am 73% of the way done. So honestly, it is so fascinating. Like, I am enjoying every second of it. It is engaging. I'm invested. I want to know what's going to happen. And we just basically follow Carrie trying to make a comeback. You know, like, she is 37 years old, and as a professional athlete, your time is quite short before you get too old and you kind of age out. And so no one really thinks that she can make a comeback, but they're like, you know what, let's A for effort, let's see if you tried or not. It's just a really fascinating journey just to see her, you know, go back into her routine, trying to polish up all her moves and get more stamina and things like that, while also dealing with a body that is getting older. And honestly, like, 37 is not even that old, but you know, when you are competing with people in their 20s, it is quite old, especially when people have had no injuries, etc., versus you who've played for like 10 plus years, like 15 years, and you've had your share of injuries, your knees hurt, things like that, your ankles. So it's just really fascinating to see her try to overcome all of her physical like ailments while also trying to, you know, block off the negative people online and the reporters and everyone who are basically naysayers. But yeah, it's just really fascinating. There's also this budding romance in here that I'm really enjoying, because there was a history between the two of them and things kind of happened. I'm not going to go into details, but now because of situations, they're training with each other, and as they kind of grow there and nurture their friendship, it kind of forms into something more. And honestly, I'm so here for it. I actually really like this relationship. I really hope that it blooms and blossoms, because I feel like there's a lot of potential there. And even though they're kind of different, at the same time though, they're not. I'm here for the romance. I'm here for all the characters. I'm here for the story. And like I said, like, Taylor Jenkins just does a really good job for characterizations, and you just feel for her, even though like she's not a likable character. But as you understand her more, you realize that kind of it's like a front in a way, where yes, obviously she has her negative moments and she has her, you know, battle acts, that's what they call her, situations and personality, but at the heart of it, she's also like very fragile and she has her insecurities. So you really see her as a person. And I feel like Taylor Jenkins Reid just does a good job of just portraying all of that, and you just connect so much with the characters. So anyways, I'm obsessed with this book. I definitely will finish this, probably not tonight, to be honest. Well, maybe like I might actually finish it tonight if I listen to it for another hour. I don't know, we'll see. Most likely I'll finish it tomorrow morning though. And then in terms of Daughter of the Pirate King, I have not picked up that book since then. I think I've read like 2 pages when I first picked it up, and that was it. So not much has happened. I think I'm going to really focus on that book as well as Fourth Wing tomorrow when my friend is here. But yeah, I'm really happy with the amount that I've read so far. I've essentially finished The Witch and the Star, which is 1 book, and then I read half of After Love and I finished that one. And then I'm pretty much done with Carrie Soto is back, and then that's already like 2.5 books. So pretty happy about that. All right, just doing a quick update. This is Sunday around 11 something right now, and I just got back from my hike. I went into Trader Joe's to pick up some stuff because my 2 friends are coming over. Well, it was just 1 friend originally, but then my other friend was asking like what we're doing today, and I was like, you're welcome to come over too and read with us. So she's gonna come over as well, and they're on their way over. So I'm preparing some stuff right now, like some little bites and everything. And in the meantime, I did manage to finish listening to Carrie Soto's Back. I don't know why, but I keep calling it Carrie Soto is Dead, like in my head. I don't know why. But that book was phenomenal. Like, I was so invested with the story. I love the character growth throughout it, and I just love how Carrie just, you know, learns a lot more about like humility and being grateful and like gratitude and all of that, because that was not present when she was younger, like at all. I felt like when she was younger, she was all about the game and the competition, and she talked smack all the time, and just basically like people called her like the bitch, because she kind of was. And I just love her development, you know, like learning more about humility, especially as, you know, she comes back after like 5 years after being retired, and she's with like an older body, and like the very last end when she was just in the court about to, you know, do her open, went into the Grand Slam, all that stuff, and that match was just riveting. Like, obviously I'm not going to tell you what happens with that match, whether or not she wins or not, but I will say though, it was riveting. I was completely fascinated with the story. I was fascinated with, everything that was happening, to be quite honest. I wanted to know more about the other characters, the other competitor players. I wanted to learn more about just everything in general. So I was super fascinated. I loved the book. Definitely 5 stars. Like the character development, like even though you don't like Carrie as a person, but throughout the book you definitely become more enamored with her personality and you learn more about her. So at the end, unfortunately, I did really like her. Like I really liked the journey that she went through, her relationship with her father, her relationship with the guy. It was just a really, really good book. So 5 stars for sure. And now I am going to pick up Daughter of the Pirate King. I'm on page 6, so really not much has happened, to be honest. My goal today is to read that book, and then if I finish that one, I'm going to try to pick up Fourth Wing and just go from there. I'm not sure what I'm going to pick up on my audio yet. Let me check really quickly on my Blibby app, see what I have available. So I do have These Witches Don't Burn. I also have Not Here to Be Liked, A Taste for Love, Coda's Touch. I'm thinking maybe These Witches Don't Burn. I feel like that might be a good one to read. So I think I'm gonna pick up that one and see how that one goes, because I think that one also expires first, like it's due first. So I think I'm gonna pick up that one if I ever want like an audio break compared to reading physically. But I will be running some sprints on the Discord with everyone else who is doing the readathon this weekend. But yeah, really happy about the reading that I've done so far. That means I've managed to finish 2.5 books, aiming for a 3rd, potentially a 4th. Alright, so I'm here with my first update with my friend over there who's not going to be on camera. And, but I'm hoping it's not super loud because I'm right under the AC. But I did manage to finish my first book of the day, or second book of the day, which is Daughter of the Pirate King. And I probably give this book like 3.5 stars or so. I think the beginning started off really slow. It wasn't until halfway through that it started to get a lot more interesting, and then I just powered through the rest because there were definitely a lot of surprises that I was not expecting, and I really liked where that went. So I'm gonna pick up actually the sequel right away, which is Daughter of the Siren Queen, because I have everything fresh in my head and I don't have to think about it later. And I'm gonna put off reading Fourth Wing. Like I don't know why, but I've just been like hesitant about reading it, and I was weighing between the two, and I was like, I'd rather pick up the sequel, finish it off, and then be done with it. But I like the first book. The first book basically follows this girl who is the daughter of the Pirate King, and she lets herself be captured by this like rival pirates for her to search something on the ship. And that's the general gist of what happens and kind of like what leads into all the other rest of the book. I felt like the first half, like I said already, just really slow. I wasn't invested with the story. That being said though, I did read the first half of the book really fast though. Like I read like half of it in like what, an hour or so, right? Something like that, like in an hour. So really fast read. But yeah, that's what I can really say in terms of that book. It's definitely intriguing enough, and the way how the book ended, I'm really fascinated to see. I'm really curious to see what the sequel will bring. Apparently there's also a third book in the series, and it follows a character that was just introduced. Well, she was like very briefly mentioned earlier on, so she's more introduced now with this other character that was kind of a side character for most of the book. So I'm really curious to see how the third book will be like these two as the main characters instead. But yeah, anyways, I'm going back to reading. It is currently 4:30, and I think afterward we might go get some Korean soup because we're craving that. All right, guys, I am driving right now. I'm actually on my phone doing this because I forgot to update you guys earlier today, but I'm heading to court jury duty, so that's fun. And because I was like, there's no way for me to postpone it, so I'm just gonna have to go. And so that's all good. But in the meantime, though, I did manage to finish a lot of Daughter of the Siren Queen. I mean, I really enjoyed it so far. I'm like 3/4 of the way in. I don't know exactly what page number I'm in, but I sped through it a lot yesterday night, and I honestly intended to finish it, but then I got so tired and I kind of was like not feeling 100% like physically. I started to feel like a little weird, so I just took some NyQuil and just went to bed right after. And I went to bed really early too, at like 10-ish. So that was that. In the meantime, though, I am right now listening to the Witches Don't Burn audiobook, and I'm about 25% of the way through. I'm gonna be listening to it while I drive to jury duty, so I hope to finish more of that today. But I do bring my laptop today so I can like do some stuff on my computer. I also did bring my books. I brought Fourth Wing as well as Daughter of the Siren Queen, so I anticipate to at least read most of those two. I anticipate to at least finish Daughter of the Pirate Queen or Daughter of the Siren Queen, and then get a head start on the Fourth Wing book. And then I might try to edit some videos too, because I do have a computer. But I don't know, I just heard that, like, I'm really hoping I just don't get picked for jury duty, like actually go in, but we'll see. But anyways, it's like a 30-minute drive now, so I'm going to get back to driving, concentrate on driving before I get on the highway, since I'm about to get on the highway. So anyways, just want to let you guys know my update for now. Lots of reading. I've read a total of Afterlove, and then I read Carrie Soto. I also read Witches and the Tsar, The Witch and the Tsar. I finished Daughter of the Pirate King. So I read 4 books so far. I'm almost done with the 5th, and I might be able to get a good start or halfway through Witches Don't Burn as well as Fourth Wing. So pretty good so far, pretty successful weekend. So good news and bad news. The good news is that I am back at my place and it is 11 a.m. The other good news is that I do not have jury duty today. The bad news, multiple bad news. One is that they postponed my jury duty without telling me. I got no texts, no emails, nothing letting me know that it was postponed. So I went all the way there, walked like 20 minutes, also because the garage was so far from the court. I'm like, why would you give you free parking like half a mile away? So I basically walked for 20 minutes, and yeah, like it was really fucking hot. But I got all the way there and they were like, oh, she was like super confused, and I was like, oh, I postponed this, you know, like thinking like maybe it's because I postponed it in January, like they couldn't really like they see something else. And she's like, oh yeah, you postponed it, it's in August. And I was like, no, I postponed it from January to this week. And she was like, no, like it shows that you postponed it to August. And I was like, no, based on my reporting instructions, I'm going to come in today. And she was like, and she looks at a detail and she was like, oh yeah, it looks like someone postponed it for you this morning. And I was like, no one told me that. And I was like, well, can I not do August? Like, can I postpone it to a different day? So basically, short story, I'm now doing jury duty at the end of September instead. So I'm like, nice. Yeah, I don't know, like they didn't tell me anything. Like why would they not inform you of these things? Like what the heck? But anyway, so I'm back now and I am going to relax, read. I did get to about 50% of the way through for these Witches Don't Burn since I was on driving and everything, so that's a good thing. But that's really it. I really do enjoy the book though. I do think that it starts off kind of weird because it doesn't give you any information whatsoever. I don't know if I talked about this book yet, but basically it follows a girl where she's dating this, she has an ex now, and in the beginning she just found out that she's gay and she's dating this girl, and then kind of fast forward to present day very abruptly, to be honest, and suddenly she's now her ex, and she keeps referring to this incident in New York City, and Veronica, her ex, is just like, it's not my fault, like can you give me one more chance, and blah blah blah. And then there's also this whole information about like Blood Witch that happened in New York City, but there's no information in terms of what actually happened in New York City. Like we don't know the details, we don't know what really happened. I don't know if the Blood Witch had anything to do with Veronica and her breakup. Like I have no idea. And now they're worried that there's a Blood Witch in town, but all the adults feel like there's nothing happening, and she's like, no, I swear there's a Blood Witch, like there's something happening, but no one believes her. Instead she keeps getting into trouble and getting her powers binded, so she can't even utilize her powers half the time, and then when she does, she has to like rip it off, like the bindment. That way she can use her powers, but then she gets punished for removing her bind. So it's like this ongoing cycle. I'm a little confused, to be quite honest, but it's getting kind of interesting in terms of what's happening with the Blood Witch and all the other stuff happening around it. So I'm curious to see more about that. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to go back to reading the Daughter of the Siren Queen now that I am home. I only have about, like, I want to say 100 pages or so right now, and it's flying through. So I'm going to finish that, and then I'll get back to reading for These Witches Don't Burn. I just finished reading Daughter of the Siren Queen, and I just busted it out. It was so good. I think I would give this book like 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I honestly am kind of sad right now because I thought The Vengeance of the Pirate Queen would be available and I can probably get it on audio or something, but it turns out it doesn't even come out until November. So I'm a little bit disappointed, not gonna lie, but I really enjoy this series. I do feel like the first book, like I said already, first half, bit slow, not gonna lie, but then it picked up. And then once you get kind of invested in the story, it's such an easy read to just breeze through the entire thing. That's exactly what I did, and I really enjoyed it. So overall, like the entire series is probably like a 4 stars, to be quite honest, because the first book I think I gave like 3.5 stars. This book is close to like 4.5 stars. So overall, 4-star series. Really enjoyed it. Love the characters. I love the way how the book ended. I love the relationships. I also even love some of the relationships between Alosa and the Siren and all that. And I'm just really invested. I do wish there was more of an epilogue at the end, but you know, I feel like what was given was honestly enough. I just wish a little bit more. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna say for this book. Now I'm gonna actually, I need to do a bunch of like dishes and stuff like that, so I'm gonna pick up my audiobook now and then try to get through that while I clean up and do the dishes and all that stuff, since I did not do that after my friend left yesterday. So hopefully I get to another book, but this is the 5th book that I finished for this weekend, and I'm pretty happy about that. So I'm back to do my outro for this readathon because it is now Tuesday afternoon and I have lots to discuss in terms of my final thoughts, what the books I read, just wrapping everything up. So I did manage to finish reading These Witches Don't Burn last night, and I give it about 3.5 stars. I actually enjoyed it halfway through the book. The beginning was definitely a little bit, I don't know, a little messy for me to get into it, very convoluted and a little confusing, but halfway through the book I definitely became a lot more invested in the story, the characters and whatnot. So I definitely finished it thinking I am intrigued enough to continue reading the series, but at the same time I'm like, I don't have the book with me, like I don't know, like I'm so hesitant, but like if I get a copy I will be intrigued to pick up the next book, and which I think is the final book in the duology. So let's just go through all the books that I read for this weekend. So the first book that I finished was Afterlove by Tanya Brine. This book I read about half of it because I did start this earlier and I gave it about 3 stars. It was okay. I feel like it could have been better. And then of course my camera died. But next book I finished was one of my favorites, which is The Witch in the Tsar by Olesa Salnikova Gilmore. This one I gave 5 stars. It was fantastic. I love the writing, I love the characters. The story was just so lush and rich, and I just absolutely enjoyed my entire time reading this. The next book I finished after that is Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is another 5-star read. As always, I just enjoyed every second of it, and the fact that she's able to make a very unlikable character to someone that you become invested in and somewhat like at the end is admirable, and I was all here for it. So I was hooked with this book. The next 2 books I picked up were a series, and I finished the entire series, and that is Daughter of the Pirate King and Daughter of the Siren Queen. I gave the first book about 3.5 stars. It was good. I think the beginning half was a little bit slow, but then once it picked up, it became a lot more fascinating. Daughter of the Siren Queen was fantastic. I gave it like 4.5 stars. It was really good. I love the characters. I love the banter. I love the way how the story went and the direction that it took. I just really had a great time reading this book. And the last and final book that I finished was this one over here, which I just talked about, so I'm not going to rehash it again. But overall, I read a total of 6 books. If you want to be very technical, 5.5 books. In terms of pages, I read a total of 1,980 pages, which if I round up, 2,000 pages. So pretty much 2,000 pages I read over the course of the weekend. I mean, granted, it was a long weekend, but I feel like I did a really good job with just catching up on some of my reading, especially because I haven't really been in a reading mood. But this weekend made, like, books just flew through. Like, I was so invested. Pretty much, like, I read 2 of my favorite books of the year right now. I mean, 2 5-star reads. That is wild, and I'm really happy to talk about that in my wrap up later this month, so definitely look forward to that. But anyway, let's say for this outro, let me know down below if you have read any of these books before. How has your reading been for the month of June? But as always, if you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up. I would just on my channel, and if you'd like to see more content of me, please don't hesitate to subscribe down below, as well as hit the notification bell. And as always, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.